Happy Monday, everybody. We are so excited to see you back here for the second week of Ignite. So welcome everyone. As a few people are filing in, we are going to get started shortly. Today we are joined by expert lister Art Obleton Jr. And Art is going to talk to you guys about finding seller leads, which is something that I'm sure we would all love to know more about in today's current market. So just a few housekeeping items. If you can please turn your cameras on. I know it's Monday morning, but we would love to see you guys. And also, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to unmute or add them in the chat. We would love for your guys' participation. This session is for you to get as much information as possible. So the best way for that is if you guys are asking questions. So be sure to do that or raise your hand or say in the chat. We will be monitoring that as well. We're going to do, as all sessions are, instruction from around 9 to 10, and then we're going to go in our breakout rooms from about 10 to 10:25. So that's all I got. Art, if you are ready to start us off this morning.
Okay, thanks a lot. Can you guys hear me and we're all set?
Yep.
And you can see my slide, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first of all, thanks a lot for the opportunity, Mike and the leadership team, for the opportunity to present. And I'm very appreciative of it. I want to, I'll start with telling a little about myself and my story. I was a substitute, have a degree in business from Kent State. I was a substitute teacher for a while, and I was going through a situation with a financial challenge, and I did a lot of looking introspectively and meditating and praying and reading my Bible and thinking about what should I do financially. And lo and behold, I'm reading my Bible and get a great inspiration. Work for me, I pay well. And then I went back to read my Bible. I hear again, hire yourself. Then a few days later, I got an inspiration to call the division of real estate to find out what it takes to get my real estate license again. I called, they said, all you have to do is take the test. You took the class in the last 10 years, take the test. I took the test. I only wanted to sell houses for families and family members and friends, because I failed at this in 05 to 06 when the market was booming. And so I figured I'll play it safe, sell for families and friends and do flips for myself. Lo and behold, my broker sent me some leads. I closed those deals. I said, wow, this is income. And I started doing transactions, and it just took off and started doing better from there. So I believe I'm in my purpose in doing this as a realtor. I've had some conversations to confirm that. One was a lady at the brokerage I work with. She recognized my last name. My dad and her worked in the same office building, and she kind of took me under her wings and told me how to get going. And then another conversation with Mike, our team leader. I was spent working last year as a buyer's agent, hardly getting deals under contract, and he gave me the idea and some strategies to get listings, and I did that, and that really just helped me out. So those two main conversations were just inspiration, confirmation that I'm on the right path here in life. So I want to get started. Let's get started here with seller leads. So let's go with the obvious question. Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market in Cleveland? We know it is a seller's market, and to give you some insight on that, we have about 1.3 months of inventory on the market right now at the end of last year. So it's taking taking the inventory about 1.3 months, or 39 days, a little less than 40 days for all inventory, what's on the market to sell. When the house comes on the market, it takes about 39 to 40 days for it all to sell. And so we have here a buyer's market. To bring it in perspective, a buyer's market is more than 6 months of inventory based on closed sales. And a seller's market is less than 3 months of inventory. And then the neutral market is 3 to 6 months of inventory. So you see, we're quite a ways from a buyer's market. From when I started working the business in 2000, really got going in 2014, more of a buyer's market, and I was able to work with a lot of buyers. I was forced to change. I knew towards when I was my buyers were getting multiple offers, and I was beat out on some transactions and making offers, I started knowing I was on the wrong side of the transaction. Now, of course, you want sellers ideally, but if I were just closing transactions, I was just closing the deals. And so, hey, I'm selling houses, so it wasn't as big of a deal. And the other thing is, you wanna get as much time for leverage for your time and most use out of your time. And we'll get into that too. But we see more than 6 months of inventory is a buyer's market, and less than 3 months of inventory is a seller's market. So when I took Bold last year in January, and it just confirmed more and more that I needed to work with sellers and get going with them. Because my buyers were really just being beat out for offers. There was one buyer I worked with. I made like 5 or 6 offers for her on different houses, and we tried over and over again. And I was just, like I say, on the wrong side of the transaction, and it was very hard. I was actually considering quitting the business, and I was stressed, and it was just running around and working very, very hard. And you think of it as like, if I'm making all these offers on properties and they were being beat out, I'm better off really just sitting at home doing nothing really, because you're working and you're losing. What good was it really doing me at that point? So with that being the case, hey, if it's a seller's market, work with sellers, and we see that going on. So one thing I wanted to say as a listing agent and becoming a listing agent, you want to have a listing agent's mindset. The mindset being, one thing you want to do is overcome fears and self-limiting beliefs. Bo to talk about that. I've taken Bo a couple of times, and they discussed that, the drunk monkey, overcoming the self-limiting beliefs. It's a fear. It's a fear that, well, suppose I get rejected. Suppose I go on a listing appointment and it doesn't work out. Suppose, they tell me they're not going to list with me, and things don't work out for me in the presentation, and I priced the home wrong, or something doesn't pan out for me, and you spend all this time for preparing for the listing and working on the listing, where it's easier just to go and say, hey, here's a buyer, go show the house and write the offer, and hopefully take them out a couple of times, you get them on the contract. And it was in that mindset, that was the case that I was in at the time. So I had to overcome some fears and self-limiting beliefs. And like I said in Keller Williams, make yourself where you're consistently uncomfortable. If you're in a position where you're uncomfortable on a regular basis, then you're growing. So one thing, you have to have the confidence. You have to have confidence that, hey, you can do it, and you can make the presentation, price the house right, and actually you can have someone in our office, or another agent, I can help, but another agent who can give you confirmation and say, hey, these are the comps I'm pulling for this house. I'm considering I'm going to go on this listing appointment. This is where I think the house should be priced at. Could you take a second look at this? You can ask a seasoned agent to give their insight on what the price should be before you go on an appointment. So one thing I begin to do, I create positive affirmations. One thing I said is, I list and sell homes fast. I say that regularly to myself. Now, some agents will say, I'm a listing agent. I'm a listing agent. And that's good, but you just don't want to list the house. The house actually has to sell. And so I just don't want the house to sell, but I want to sell quick for my sellers. So I list and sell homes fast. So I do that. And also, there's some things I've seen in real estate where some people they're charismatic, they're smart, they connect with people, but sometimes things just doesn't work out for them, and they can have some difficult transactions, and things can just seem to go the wrong way, and it can happen consistently sometimes. So hey, I say a prayer on my transactions and keep working and work hard at it too. Another thing, don't become comfortable being a buyer's agent. That's one thing I did, and I did it too long. You know, the activity, the transactions. I mean, you know, I just ran around, showed houses. It was fun. It was exciting, you know, and that was great. But, you know, don't mistake activity for accomplishment. You know, just because you're active, you're busy, you're doing things. And one thing that realtors always say that, you know, is kind of comical to me now, you know, and they'll be around you know, say, you've been busy, you've been busy, you've been busy. And, you know, do you want to be busy or do you want to be productive? You know, and when you're getting listings, it helps you to be able to be more productive and more strategic and slow things down and make it where you can think better and make more calculated more calculated steps and moves for yourself. So once again, slow down so you can speed up. Slow down so you can speed up. You know, take some time to think through a plan. Take some time to think. Take some time to I'll never forget what Andrew said once. He said, you know, he works 6 days a week, and he said he takes a day off so he can think. You know, and I listened to this motivational speakers once said, she said, you know, if people sit down and think about a plan and think about a strategy, is what they want to do and how to improve their lives, then they can really improve their lives, because then you implement the strategy, you know. So spend time, slow down so you can speed up. My coach tells me that regularly, because it's so easy to get caught up in you've been busy, you're just running and you're just going. You know, the phone's ringing, the text message, the DM, social media. So there's so many things that a realtor can do just to stay active. And keep in mind, as a realtor and as a business owner, period, anyway, you want to engage in activities that are dollar productive, You know, you want to do things that's going to generate you, that's going to help the family buy, they're going to buy the house, help them buy their house or sell their house. And then that's going to generate income for you. You know, and I never forget what a broker told me once. He said, Art, I want you to make money doing real estate, because if you don't make money doing real estate, you'll stop doing real estate. And that's something to know as a new agent too, because everything you do, every step you take, especially in the early going, it really counts. It counts a lot. You can't afford to make too many mistakes. Even if you do have the reserves, at some point the business has to start paying for itself. You know, you have to generate income, and then the business has to pay for itself. So I am, for some reason my clicker isn't working. Oh, there we go. Also, prepare and practice a listing presentation. You can pair it with somebody, some people in our office, other agents, and just our leadership team helped me with the listing presentation, some information that was provided to me, and they were able to provide me with some templates and the PowerPoint presentation. So
you can try maybe clicking the arrow on your keyboard. That might.
Okay, let's see here. You go back to the first slide. I think it did. Let me see. One moment.
Yeah, we see the first slide.
Okay. 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 Advantages of working with sellers. One of the highest form of leverage. When you're working with sellers, usually sometimes you can get 2 transactions. Okay, the buyer and the seller. And I'll try to quicken the pace here. I'm kind of behind. For listings aren't required as much for sellers. You don't have to buy leads. Okay. Once you have the listing, you're going to generate leads from the listing, the sign in the yard, and then you can, like I said, you can probably get both trends at both sides. And like I said, purchase the leads. and you can work with more clients simultaneously. So you can carry more transactions, more pending sales, and just work with more clients simultaneously, and opposed to working with buyers. You can only work with so many buyers at a time, maybe like 4 to 6 buyers at a time, but you can carry a much larger lead for listings. The top agents have listing-based businesses. Listing agents enjoy more freedom. They're able to set their schedule, they're able to predict their income better, and they have more financial stability because you know how many transactions are coming, you know how many, who's in your pipeline, what listings are in your pipeline, what sellers are going to list with you, when they're going to list with you. And also, as a listing agent, you keep in mind that when you go on a showing, when you go on not a showing, but a listing appointment, when you go on a listing appointment, that seller may not be prepared to list right then. So just keep in mind, you want to really load up your pipeline that you can begin to have more listings, because you go on a listing appointment and the seller says, well, I have to do some touch-up painting, I have to clean the carpet, there's some cosmetic work they want to do, and it could take a few weeks, could take a few months, for them to do everything they want done. But if you just continue to set listing appointments for yourself and go on the listing appointments, then at some point they'll go on the market, they'll go on the contract, and then they'll begin to close. In a market like this, it's kind of hard to overprice a house, especially like it was in the summer. I mean, prices have come down. There's not as much activity. I know we're dealing with some seasonality, but we're still having buyers out looking, and it's still definitely a strong seller's market. So sellers have the leverage on that. So lead sources, sphere of influence, as we all know, the sphere of influence, and not just a sphere of influence. You want to influence your sphere. So it's not, you don't want just names, but you want people who are going to reach out to you, who value your opinion. Like, for example, family members, people who value your opinion, that, take in consideration your thoughts, your ideas on certain things. I never forget, it was Scott that said something once. He said, the people who attended your wedding, they're not necessarily your sphere of influence. They could be your parents' friends. Okay, but people who will value your opinion, family, friends, past colleagues and present colleagues on your job, where you're working, and your neighbors. Okay, any types of clubs, organizations that you work with and be a part of with your children, PTA, PTO, with parent teachers organization, parent teachers administration. Places of worship, sports teams, your children's sports teams, anywhere you're meeting with people, your spouse sports team, your significant other sports teams, anything like that. And like I said, the mentees. And then another thing I like to mention is social media. We know Facebook, we could do, but one I like to mention is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, because you do LinkedIn, then you're going to get a certain clientele. Like you'll get more professional clientele. You get a clientele that's selling and a higher price point, and it helps you increase your price point if you need that. So then some more lead sources. I like to say bankers and branch managers, personal bankers, loan officers, and tellers. Now, why did I say that? You say, well, Art, we want sellers. Well, I have relationships with bankers, particular personal banker, friend of mine, that I calculate I have sold probably 10 houses. I've sold 10 houses from this one relationship. Now, these are going to be sources of leads. You don't have to implement all this, but these are ideas. And what you do is you begin to work with a group or a few people from this group, and then begin to develop and cultivate those relationships. And as you cultivate those relationships, they'll generate you more business. And with these people, there's nothing wrong with massaging those relationships, taking them out to lunch every so often, like probably once a month, developing those relationships. When they give you a lead, reward the idea of them giving, reward the act of them giving you a lead. Give them a gift card to a Starbucks, okay? So you want to begin to massage these relationships. Branch managers, there was a real estate attorney mentioned to me. He said, Art, I don't go to the ATM to make my transactions. He said, I go in the bank. I go in the bank and I know everybody in the bank. Everybody in the bank, I know them on first name basis. I talk to them. I mean, they know me, and you know, they're bankers. You know, you go into a bank and develop a relationship with a banker, like my friend was a personal banker. Someone will come into his office and he'll ask them, you know, do they need to sell a house, or have they bought a house? Now, keep in mind, depending on where the bank is, you know, they could, if they want to buy a house, keep in mind they also have a house to sell. You know, so if they're selling a house and they're buying a house. Branch managers, the loan officers you partner with, if they have a referral for you, yes, they're buying, but also they have a house to sell. And so what you do is you receive leads from, you give them leads, you receive leads from them, and then you go back and forth. You guys are doing favors for each other. Investors.
Hey, Art. Hey,
Yeah.
Art. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't know what's up on your screen, but we still just see the first slide. Your slides aren't changing.
They are? Okay.
So I don't know if you need to.
Do you see it now?
No, I'm just seeing just the first screen. I can actually just see your PowerPoint. I know you got a lot of notes, so I want to make sure everybody gets to capture them.
Let me see here.
All right.
Are you getting
here? Art, no, don't go to animations. If you just go in the bottom right-hand corner next to, go over one, right there. Yeah.
See that?
Yep. All right, we're back in action.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I'm taking away the. I feel bad. I'm an ATM guy, and I feel like I'm missing out on that opportunity. But also, like, how many other places are we taking the quick and easy path, right? The path of convenience that's limiting our opportunities to build a relationship with somebody. I love that.
Right. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And you go in the bank, and also, since you mentioned bankers, you can go. I mean, who says you have to work at? You have to just work one bank. You can. I mean, any particular city, Westlake. You could go to Westlake, and if you're on the west side, you can work that whole bank, and those the banks in that city, you know, and be the realtor of choice for the banks in that city. And so one thing, when I was in school, I was considering being a pharmaceutical sales rep. And one thing the drug reps did is before they meet with the doctor, they would have to they'd have to talk to the receptionist. And so one thing they would do is they would bring gifts or chocolates to talk to to sweeten up the receptionist to get to the doctor. So I never heard anybody say it in real estate, which is there's nothing wrong with bringing the bankers and those in the branch breakfast every so often. You take them breakfast on a Friday, talk to the branch manager. I talk to the branch manager. She approves of it. Take them a breakfast of bagels, coffee, orange juice, whatever. Take them something every so often, and then just begin to massage that relationship more and make that better. And you're just building more camaraderie with them. So I mentioned investors. When you do investors, you're going to get multiple transactions. You're going to get the buyer, the seller, and one thing with investors, they're going to do multiple transactions, and then chances are they're going to tell their investor friends that you're selling houses, and they're more likely to scale their business or buy more expensive houses quicker than the retail buyer, the owner occupant buyer, the owner occupant seller. Okay, and then you get these investors, multiple transactions. You can get them from Home Depot and Lowe's. CPAs. What you're doing is you're creating a network for yourself with other professionals, and these are people, the bankers, the CPAs, and I have some others here. The people that come to you. These are people, the professionals that others go to for advice. people go to CPAs for tax advice. And so they talk to their CPA, and the CPA can recommend you as a realtor to sell their house. Keep in mind, with these relationships, like with the financial advisor, if you know someone who needs financial advice, you refer them to them. They refer people to you too. So it creates really a circle in a network where you're referring business and you're receiving business. And it doesn't have to be, deal for deal or tick for tack, but you begin to work with these people and develop these relationships. Attorneys also. Attorneys, and one thing with attorneys, one type of attorney a lot of realtors prefer are the divorce attorneys. Why divorce attorneys? Because you can possibly get 3 transactions on that one referral. So both husband and wife needs property, and you got to sell the house that they're in. Now, it's unfortunate, but things like that happen sometime, but you have to be available to help them out. Real estate attorneys, and like I mentioned, my relationship with a real estate attorney for the advice about the bank, and a probate attorney. I have a probate attorney I work with now. I have a listing that's going to come under contract. He referred the seller to me, and it's going to be on the market within the next week or so. And then one thing about the divorce attorney, I've met with divorce attorneys and just talking to them and just knowing their business. And I went on a listing presentation with a newer agent. We had the presentation, and then we said, she asked, do you think they're going to list their house? And I said, yes, after the presentation, yes, definitely. And they're going to sell the house, and I'm going to be the one to sell it, because this was a couple who was recently married. The gentleman owned the house before he got married, and the wife wanted him to sell the house. She wanted to sell the house. Why? Because I knew, and I knew they were going to sell the house. I knew they were going to sell because, unfortunately, if something did happen in the marriage where it didn't work out, that from what I've been told from divorce attorneys, there's no judge that would award her that house. So she felt leveraged. And then, she wanted them to buy a house together. And lo and behold, they eventually listed the house. It took about 6 weeks for them to get the house on the market, listed the house. And that's one listing for me that went under contract, and it's going to close Friday. So they listed the house. Other lead sources, multiple listing services, the past sales. And I want to share something, how I can do this and how you can use the MLS to generate more leads. So Carrie, how do I want to access my go to the internet at this point?
Okay, so where the button that says share screen is, there should be an arrow, and there should be an option to share a different screen, I believe.
New share?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, okay. So I want to go, I think I need to go here. So if I go to, I have the MLS here, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so this was a house, I pulled up, and I did, what you do is you go to past sales. So in past sales, I went back 5 to 10 years. You see this here, from January 1st, 2012 to January 10th, 2017. I go back 5 to 10 years. I did a search in University Heights, okay, at least $125,000, at least 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. And this was 5 to 10 years ago. So we know now that those homes will be worth more now. So we did a search, and I came up with a property. I chose this house. Okay, this one sold here, as we see, for $142,000 in July of 2015. Okay, so what I'll do is I will go and I can look up this house. I'll go to homesnap.com, and that was 2361 Traymore. 2361 Traymore, and I'll pull this property up. Now this is the the Pro Edition, Home Snap Pro, and you'll see here that this seller have the categories least likely to list, likely to list, or most likely to list. Okay, this seller here on Trade-More is likely to list. I will tell you this about HomeSnap: this value is most likely incorrect. It's low. The actual value of the home will be higher than this. So we have here the likelihood they are the list. The house is not on the market. There is, and this is artificial intelligence, the AI score. It can be low, medium, or high. The AI score here is medium, so they're likely to list. They own the house for 2.6, I don't know, well, it's more than 2.6 years, but anyway, there is, well, oh, I see the house sold here this thing, but the house sold. So likely to list. And then I can come down, I can see the owner of the house, okay? So I can reach out to this person, okay? We're generating leads, and I can reach out to this person. So I type this name in. If I go to truepeoplesearch.com and I type in the city, and this is all online, as you see, type in the city, and I can reach out to this person here. I do a search, this is free, and then I go to University Heights, Cheyenne Harper, and I have some contact information there. Okay, so I can reach out to this person, and I will have to have a script. I'll have to have some ideas of what I would talk to this person about, and say, Cheyenne, and just talk to them about the market. My script goes pretty much talking about the market, and talking to them, or they're interested in what the market will bear for them. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll talk about real estate and tell them what the market is doing in their area. Okay, now I have the address, even if the phone number is not correct, and some of those phone numbers are not correct. If the phone number is not correct, what I'll do is I'll create a golden letter. Is this large enough? Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll create a golden letter. The golden letter here says, and there are different ways you do your golden letter, but the home value has increased nearly 100% in the last 6 years. Would you want to estimate the value of your home? Okay, and so I'll send that, and you have the phone number. You can follow up. I have a door hanger. I can drop it off at the door. Okay, so I reach out to them that way. So so the last 5 years in sales, 5 to 10 years, because we know sellers will move. Buyers will move every 7 to 10 years, but in this market, they may move faster because the values are so high. Okay, so that's one strategy that I'd use there with that. Let's see here. There was another thing. So we go, and then I'll share something else with you here too. Let's see here. Can you see that? Can you see my screen here, Carrie?
Letter of intent email.
Okay, hold on. Let me say. Okay, let me do this. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. Go to new share, right?
Yep. Also, there's a question in the chat, Art, not to get you off track, from Victoria that says, where and how do you get in contact with attorneys, parentheses, divorce and probate?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. So what I would do is, I've had someone contact me with those people, but what you can do is, on a practical basis, is reach out to your families and friends and your parents' families and friends and let them know. It's that I am a realtor and I would like to be connected to attorneys, or like I would need to know a probate attorney. Ask your mom, ask your dad, ask your parents' friends. Do you know of a financial advisor you can refer me to? And tell them what your plan is. I would like to refer business to the financial advisor. I would like to do business with them, refer business to me. Same thing with nursing homes, nursing home director. You want to connect with people who have a lot of people they're dealing with, who are making transitions and making transactions, branch managers, financial advisors. And so your network where you can reach out to these people. And that's what I mentioned, LinkedIn. You reach out to those professionals where you can create a sphere of influence with them. And you can begin to be in that network. You can join networking organizations, networking clubs. Okay. Can you see my screen now for lead source?
Yep.
Okay. So and I want to show this here. We say golden letters and best places to live. Okay. So there is an article, and I can share this with anybody who's interested, and I'll put my information. I'll carry if you want to put my information in the chat for email.
Yeah, I'll add it, and then we'll send a follow-up email to everyone today, and we can add that information as well as Art's contact info.
Okay, so best places to live. There is this magazine that comes out every June, and I'll show it to you, the slide. Every June, this magazine, Best Place to Live in Cleveland, and it gives the suburbs, it lists all the suburbs of Greater Cleveland, the statistics, anything you want to know, the stats, demographics, property taxes, and everything about those suburbs. So what we could do is we use that data and to help our clients and to grow our business. So what I'll do, I'll get that information and I'll go to cities. Let's see here. I'm going to share again. I'll go to, let's see here. Here we go here. And I think I need to go. Can you see that?
We see your email right now.
Okay, let me see. Can you see best places to live now?
Yep, we got it.
Okay. So this is a magazine, and what I do, I get this magazine every June. I've been collecting the magazine for the last 8 years. I get the magazine every June, and I get why 8 years. It helps me it shows I can track trends of different cities and how they're changing. So I see this magazine, and so I use this data. So here's stats on the suburbs, the top 20 suburbs and so forth. And so I use this data, all the suburbs. Okay, and I can email this to anybody who wants the information. Like, for example, we can't talk about school districts. So if I have someone who's interested in this particular area and they don't know the demographic school districts, I'll just send this to them. Okay, so let's see here. We come down here. Most home sales. There's a lot of turnover in these cities. Okay, from these cities right here, most home sales. Right here in Parma, over 1,500 people sold. There were over 1,500 sales. All of them weren't listed by a realtor. The overall majority of them were. Those are, say, over 1,200 listing agents sold homes in Parma in 2020. So I see these cities, and these are cities which are, some of these cities are inner ring suburbs, starter home communities, and so I can begin to work these cities. I remember what I just shared with you about looking at the past sales. Look at the past sales. I go to homesnappro.com. I think I paid $40 for that service at HomeSnap Pro. Look at the past sales, homesnappro.com, truepeoplesearch.com, golden letters. I can reach out to these people. Okay. And particularly, like, for example, where there's turnover in these cities here, most sales. Also, if you're new to listing homes, it would help to start in these entering suburbs or these first-time seller area, first-time seller cities. Why? Because not that you can't sell more expensive homes, but to get yourself going, to develop, remember, have confidence, to develop momentum in your business, where you can begin to work your business and have more confidence going into listing appointments and walking out with signed listing docs, putting the house on the market in a couple of days, and they go into the contract maybe a week, 10 days later, and you're closing it. So this is a good place to start to develop, to hone your skills, your listing skills, and to create momentum and a rhythm for yourself. Okay, you can target these cities. Now you can go wherever you want, but and now these cities, like we said, there's a lot of turnover in these cities. Also, what you can do is you can reach out to the title company. You can contact Jade or Tiffany at a title company and reach out and say, and for information as to which cities have the highest turnover rate. Okay. And so they should be able to give you information on that. I haven't asked them, but I was told title companies can do that. They can give you information as to which cities have the higher turnover rate, where you can target those cities to get easier listings. It's easier, like I mentioned, it's easier to walk into these cities and walk out with a listing agreement signed and put on the market than some other cities. Now, a lot of consumers do the same thing with realtors that they do with financial advisors. They only interview one, and whoever interviews first is usually the realtor who gets the listing. So I don't like Jeff Glover says, I don't have to be the best. I just have to be first. And I'll show you the slide where the NAR states that 77% of consumers list with the first realtor they meet with. Okay, so we start here, get our rhythm going, get things going, develop the confidence, knowing you can walk into a house and list that house, and then you're less likely to compete with other realtors here. Some of these people in these cities, I mean, it is the situation it is. A lot of these people in these cities don't know other realtors, their family, their friends, their cousin, there aren't realtors. So you develop yourself here, and then you go here. Okay, so over in this category, these are the highest median home price sales. In this category, you have competition, you compete, but like Ryan says, if you're not competing, you're not growing. Okay, so you develop yourself here, then you go here to these cities here, these more affluent cities. Now, these are cities here, these top cities here, the most affluent in our area. They're less likely to have turnover. People moving to these cities, usually they're not moving out. So you come here, you're competing with other realtors. These sellers know other realtors, but you sharpen your skills to be able to compete and get these listings in these cities here. Another thing is, we're talking about getting lead sources here. Another thing is property taxes. We know that every 3 years, the Board of Revision assess property values. Property values have been sky high lately. Property taxes are increasing. I have a client that I sold her home, and she moved to another home. She moved into Richmond Heights, and for her, not for everyone in Richmond Heights, her property taxes increased 20%. 20%. And so I'll work with her to see if I can get Senator comps to get her so she can contest it and get her taxes lowered. But property value. Notice a lot of these cities are in Cuyahoga County. Some people are saying, you know what? I want to move out of Cuyahoga County. The property taxes are high. I want to go. And so these are some people. Once again, you can reach out to sellers in these cities, and with the strategy I share with you and other strategies you have. And these people may want to move to a Lake, Summit, Geauga, Lorain County. They may want to move. So that's another strategy there too. I want to go back. I have to go back to something here. And I'm almost finishing up. I'm finishing up here. Let's see. And I know I always ask, you guys can see that, right? Okay, great. So there we are, less competitive. Let me go here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Excuse me. Okay, so we got first time sellers, less competitive areas, and there's a quote from a stat from NAR. 77% of recent sellers contacted only one agent before finding the right agent they worked with to sell their home. You develop your skills, you develop your ability to list homes, and make sure you're comfortable with the seller making a presentation and overcoming objectives. And then you feel comfortable, go on the appointment, take the appointment. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a $20 million producer to go on listing appointments. I mean, the stats are right there. They're going to list with you. The stats are right there. Take the shot. A shot is better than not taking a shot at all. And even if you don't get the listing, you're learning and you're growing. And then you ask them, what can I ask? Why did you choose another realtor? Why didn't I get the listing? And you just begin to grow from there and develop yourself. So a lot of agents are newer, but these are something that we should always remind ourselves anyway. 5 tasks of a realtor: 1, lead generate; 2, follow up; 3, make appointments; 4, negotiate contracts. These are things you're doing every day as a realtor. Negotiate contracts. And the 5th thing, obtain more education. And you're doing that today. So if you do these 5 things on a daily basis, you will close transactions. You will help people sell their homes. You will help families build wealth for themselves. You sell their house, they have to go somewhere. You're going to help them buy the next house, and you have 2 transactions on that one listing. And not to mention the buyers who call the signs, and those buyers. Last year I must have sold maybe 3 to 5 homes when I had the listing, and the buyer called the sign. I showed the house. I had the buyer too, but I showed the house to the buyer. The buyer wanted the house. And what I do is I pass that buyer off to another realtor, and I'll pay that realtor a percentage to represent that buyer. So, like, for example, they'll represent him for like 50, right? I'll negotiate the terms. They'll represent that buyer 15%, 20% of the buyer's commission, and opposed to me technically representing both sides, because attorneys can't represent both plaintiff and defendant, so they don't like me to represent both. So it makes it where attorneys not looking at where they want to come at me so much.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Sometimes it's so exciting where you're like, oh, I'm going to double side this deal. And, if one party wants to represent themselves, great. But if they both want you to represent them, then you're better off, taking a little bit less, because it is such a precarious situation to represent both sides in a transaction and do it in a way that you can, deliver on the duty, all of the obligations that you have to each party. So that's a great strategy. Give up 20%, save yourself a big peace of mind, and give somebody else an opportunity, right?
Right, exactly. And they thank you for it. That's pretty much what I have. Any questions, comments? Anything questions, comments from anyone? Insights? All right.
Well, give them a second here. I think we're it's Monday morning, Art. We're still waking up. I'll tell you, biggest one for me, as and I've seen a few pitches in my day. The identifying the markets where the most homes are selling, to be able, and you're exactly right. Like and I'm sure that 77% list with the first person that they meet, those first-time home buyers or first-time home sellers, they don't know another realtor. When you get into the Brecksvilles and the Pepper Pikes and the Gates Mills, right, they might know a dozen realtors, or they might have bought and sold 3 or 4 times. So you are competing, and you're trying to break somebody out of a habit of using one person and want them to use another. But first-time home sellers, wow, and there's more of them, which means there's more opportunities. And you mean to tell me if I can get 4 listing appointments, statistically speaking, if they sell, if they list, I'm going to get 3 of the 4 of them to list with me? That's wild.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, it's like, I remember years ago, some of well, in Cleveland, we always have new quarterbacks, right? And then a lot of times newer, younger quarterbacks. And they always say, well, let's get this guy in a rhythm and run some plays that get his confidence going, and some short passes, some bubble screens, and some football talk, but some high percentage shots, pretty much. And you take your high percentage chances, and you get a rhythm, get momentum. You say, I went into this house, I listed this house, it's sold, and that does wonders for your confidence. And then you hone your skills, you compete, and not just compete, you win, you sell the house. Then you go on to some other communities where you're competing against other agents, and you may not win initially, but you build your base in some of these inner ring suburbs and these first time seller neighborhoods, and then you can go and, for football terminology, throw the ball down the field and get the touchdown. So you compete in those other areas, and then eventually you begin to win in those areas too, in that new territory, and you gain more market share.
Yeah, I mean, and it builds off of what we heard Sophie talk about last week, right? About unique value proposition and what you're selling, how you're selling yourself to your clients. But as soon as you even have your first listing, let alone your first listing sold, you can start telling a story to every seller about that listing and about that listing selling. They don't know that you've only sold one listing if you're like, oh, let me tell you about this one I just closed. Boy, it was a doozy. And then you can launch into a story and they're like, wow, this person really sells houses, and, game over.
Like you always say, facts tell, stories sell. So gets them going. And stories always help. Stories always help. People remember the stories. Mm-hmm. They remember the stories. They remember the experience. Stories have more emotion to it. So.
Hi guys, just wanted to add something. I subscribe actually to Cleveland Magazine. I sometimes would leave it, at my listing so people can even just look at it, to see it, to look at the communities and things like that. Gives people an idea, especially if they're not from the area, what kind of wonderful activities and events and restaurants that we do have in our area. And the only thing is that I have a little beef with Cleveland Magazine, because my school district and where I live never gets included. And because we're so small, they don't include us, which I don't understand why, because I mean, it's a great place to live. So I just want to throw out to everybody that Cuyahoga Heights schools, where I happen to be a school board member as well, is one of the top rated schools in Northeast Ohio. We graduate about 70 kids a year, so we're very small, but we graduate about 100%, almost nearly 100% of our students graduate every year. And our pre-K program has been voted Best Quality Award recently. In our community, our school district comes up with 3 small villages: Valley View, Brooklyn Heights, and Cuyahoga Heights, where the school is actually located. And those 3 communities have they are the lowest property taxes in Cuyahoga County. That's just my little FYI for everybody. Sort of my past broadcasting career coming back out just to give information to people. Just wanted to share that.
Great, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Hello, I had a question.
Yes.
Just as a new agent, just starting out, just a quick question. As I build up these resources and I'm generating leads, I'm constantly calling. Is there any advice, like in between time, anything? I know I'm just keep pressing. I'm keeping my foot to the pedal, just trying to stay consistent and continue to build. But I noticed that I don't have the same resources and such. it's some of the more advanced agents and stuff and things like that. So I was wondering how can I curve that, a little bit to try to speed up the process.
I think you just answered your own question, which is you say you don't have the resources of some seasoned agents, partner with some seasoned agents. You get, I mean, we hear it over and over again. There are a lot of agents in the office or in our brokers who are willing to help. Reach out, send a text, try to schedule a phone appointment. You can do coffee, but I partner with or network with agents who are doing more business than me. The people I mentioned in the presentation, they either know more about real estate than me, or their businesses are larger than mine. So my mother told me a story. She told me when I went to school years and years ago as a kid, she said, Art, when you go to school, hang with the smart kids and sit in the front of the class. So that I continue to do the same thing. So whoever you see that's doing more business, our Facebook posts, you could reach out to them. I can almost guarantee you, it doesn't matter who it is, they'll be willing to help you. They'll be willing to help you. Like I say, even you can learn so much from if you just ask for a 15-minute phone conversation, 15-minute phone appointment with some agents. I mean, and what you can learn just taking notes and getting personal questions answered for your business, that would help a lot. I mean, this is a network of agents where we don't compete, we cooperate with each other, and there are people willing to help you out. I mean, even including myself. So, yeah.
Great, awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
What advice would you give to new agents who mostly have buyers instead of sellers, even though it is a seller's market?
Okay. Well, even the buyer's market isn't as competitive as when I first started. So you can get buyers under contract, and I understand you do have to work with you have initially, and some things are the advantages with buyers. You take a buyer out once or twice. I mean, there are buyers I showed one house to, wrote their offer, and they closed. Keep in mind, they also know they know other people too, their family, their friends. So what I would do is when you work with a buyer, there are certain phases and strategies you can go about handling these buyers. Work with the buyer when their house is under contract. Your offer is accepted. They're excited. Okay, well, Ms. Buyer, do you have any family members, friends, or coworkers I can also help buy, sell, or invest in real estate? They're honeymooning. I mean, their houses, their offer is accepted. They're excited, and make sure you ask that before the inspection. Then the inspection comes in, it's like, oh, now we have these other problems. So you ask right before the inspections for referrals, and then that you go through the process. When they close, ask again for leads and referrals. And so as you continue to ask, there are going to be clients who are looking to sell. They're looking to sell, and you'll get the seller, and they'll sell and they'll buy with you also. And another thing what you could do is you could set expectations up front. So you get a buyer and say, okay, Ms. Buyer, what I'll do is, as we go through this process, I'm not just want to work with you, I want to work with your family and your friends, okay? So when I go through the process, at the end, I want to ask you for referrals and want you to be comfortable giving the referrals. As we go through it, I'll ask you, how am I doing? Am I on track to receive referrals from you? And so, like I said, after the offer is accepted and when it closes. And so you can begin to get referrals that way from clients too.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments?
Hey, Art, I'm not sure if you mentioned it at the beginning. I apologize, but can you kind take us through your progression as a listing agent. You know, how many in 2019, 2020, 2021, and what's the horizon look like for 2022?
Okay, so in
Business?
2021, yeah, 2021, I listed the most homes I've ever listed. I listed and sold the most I ever sold, which was 11. That was the listings only. Prior to then, I was only buyer's agent. So I did 11 listings in 2021. This year, right now, I have between under contract and in my pipeline and what's on the market, I have 18 listings. So right now, in 2020, I listed 11. I sold 11. 2021, I sold 23 listings. 23 listings. And then right now in 2022, I have 18 either under contract, in the pipeline, or on the market.
So prior to 2020, no listings. In 2020, 11. In 2021, 23. And currently in the pipeline, on the market, or under contract, 10 days into the year, you have 18. So pretty good chance that this will be the most homes you've ever listed and sold again in 2022, right?
Yes, definitely. By far.
Yeah. So guys, you know, if you're, you know, to the comment that Courtney had and Tamara, yours as well, like, you know, wherever you are today, right? And we always say, you know, you overestimate where you can be in a year and underestimate where you can be in 5 years. You know, the simple decision to, you know, go on 4 listing appointments this quarter, right? Just go on one a month. Go on one a month, and you'll have, you know, statistically speaking, if you're the first one in the door, you're going to have 9 listings this year. And then what is that going to mean for next year? And what is that going to mean for the year after that? And in short order, you know, you're not going to be running around, you know, at 9 o'clock at night showing somebody a vacant home because, damn it, you need a buyer or you need something to close, right? As you look at your pipeline now, Art, what's more predictable, the pipeline of buyers or the pipeline of sellers? It's going to be the sellers, right?
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Yep, definitely. I don't know what's going on my camera here, but and then you mentioned something about, I mean, the vacant home situation. You know, it's listing with sellers or it's working with sellers is just safer too. You know, so it's safer. You don't want to go in a vacant home. You don't have to go in a vacant home with someone if you're working with a buyer. Just open the door, let them in. You know, if the house is occupied, then yes. I don't want to scare anybody. You shouldn't be scared. You know, if somebody tries something, attempts to try something, try to do it in a vacant home. You know, so don't go in a vacant home. Just open the door, let them in. Or I'll sit outside and make some calls in my car, sir. You know, but listing appointments, you know, you're in their home. You know where they are. You know where you are. The people you talk to know where you are. You walk out with the listing agreement.
That's awesome. All right. Carrie, if you want to make me the co-host real quick, I'll break out and we'll go into breakout rooms. Guys, as we have done every day, and we will continue to do as a part of Ignite, we want to throw people into breakout rooms so you can start making calls right now. Lead generate for sellers today, or lead generate for one of those key relationships that Art talked about, right? Hey, listen, I'm trying to get in a relationship with one of these 5 people: a divorce attorney, a branch manager at a bank, a probate attorney, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And then just get in those conversations, because those leads, right, could be 10 seller leads, not just one. So We're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to start working the phones for about the next 15 minutes. Then we're going to come back for final ahas and takeaways. And then we will go from there. All right. So I'm sending you there now.
All right, welcome back everyone from our breakout rooms. I hope that we were making some calls. If anyone had any big wins from their phone calls, please be sure to share it now. You can unmute or say in the chat. Or if anyone has any final questions for Art or any ahas they got from today's session, I know there was a lot of great information. So if you have anything, now is the perfect time to share.
I have a question.
Sure.
Once you get the lead, like if you do the MLS method that you were using, how do you get the person's contact information again? I think I may have missed that if you did share that.
I went to truepeoplesearch.com.
True People. Okay.
Yeah, truepeoplesearch.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Is there any other magazine besides the Cleveland magazine who has stats? And how often are they updated?
The Cleveland magazine has the stats that I use that I'm most familiar with. There's probably some other data, but I haven't used it. Maybe Mike would know, or Carrie or Julia might know some data. Do you know of any other data, Carrie?
I'm trying to think right now. Cranes Cleveland might have stuff, but I'll double check with Mike and we can let you guys know in a follow-up email as well if we think of anything else off the top of our heads.
The Cleveland magazine is probably the best one, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at that magazine, it has loads of information. I mean,
Yeah.
that article is, I mean, I guess 15 pages long, a lot of data on just a lot of data on those suburbs.
Yeah, super helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if we don't have any other questions, we will follow up with everyone with the materials like we said. Thank you so much, Art. We have a bunch of comments in the chat of people who have learned a lot today. Especially the tip about looking up market trends, I think was really great information for people here on not just how to do it, but what to then do with that information. So thank you so much, Art. Again, everyone, I'll share Art's contact information with the follow-up as well if you want to continue a conversation with him on anything. But thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much, Art.
Sure, thank you.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Sure, bye.